Hey everyone, this is J7Jace, bringing you yet another Final Fantasy Tactics related video. This time, I'm going to be giving my personal ranking on every single main protagonist of each Tactics game. I'll be briefly going over things like their backstory, personality, redeeming qualities, not so redeeming traits, and a few other things. I'm one of the very few YouTubers who not only played through every game, but I also completed every single title. So with that said, let's get started. There will be spoilers from here on out, so stop watching and click away if you don't want anything to be ruined. Just make sure you like and subscribe if you aren't already. I cover mostly FFT content from things like guides, builds, how-tos, and much more. For fourth and last place, my least favorite protagonist of all the games has to be none other than...
My name is Marche. I am a warrior in a land called Ivalice. Can you please help me destroy the crystals so I can leave?
I actually don't dislike the guy for the most part, but to give some background about Marche, he and his younger brother Don are the new kids at school in St. Ivalice, and they soon make friends with a kid named Mute and a girl named Ritz. They all have their own issues. His brother has a disability so he can't walk, Ritz naturally has white hair and dyes her hair pink because kids tease her, Mute gets bullied constantly, on top of being depressed over his deceased mom, and in turn, this also affects his dad, who is out of a job and has a drinking problem. Even though people like to joke that Marche has no problems, he actually does. He is somewhat shy, his parents are divorced, and even though he lives with his mother, he wishes his mom would give him some attention since she only focuses on Dawn. So he's pretty much left alone. Anyway, the story starts. There's a snowball fight at school, Mute still gets bullied, the bullies throw a snowball with a rock that cuts his forehead, and because the teacher is a beta male, he unfortunately still can't get anything done or keep the little rascals under control. Soon after, the main characters meet at Marche's house where Mute brings an old book, and he wishes that the game called Final Fantasy would be real. This part kind of reminds me of that joke.
It must be some kind of hot tub time machine.
And they later get teleported into this fictional world. All of their problems get fixed here, and I'll put that in quotes. His brother Don can walk and do things like most kids can, Ritz no longer has her white hair problem, Mute is no longer bullied, and is in fact the ruling prince of the country. His mother is alive and is queen, and his dad is the top judge, pretty much equivalent to the Chief Justice of the United States. Marche, on the other hand, does end up liking the new world. He breaks out of his shell of being shy, and not only does he become a solid fighter, but also becomes co-leader of Clan Nutzy with the Moogle goat Mont Blanc. However, Marche does miss his mom, who isn't in this world, and he realizes that this fantasy is just escapism and an illusion from all their problems back in the real world. He later ends up convincing Don that he will help him, even though his little brother sent hit squads after him. He beats the crap out of Ritz, and also forces Mute back to face reality, and also promises he will be there for him. Even though Marche does like the Final Fantasy world, he realizes this is all just an illusion and a place where his friends can escape the reality of their problems, and that this won't be good in the long run for them. Despite being so young, he is quite mature and can see the big picture. However, my main issues are that he doesn't know what it's like to be permanently disabled, to look much different than everyone else, or what it's like to lose the life of a loved one you can never get back. There can be some cases and situations where you have to put your foot down and use force, but at the same time, I don't think it's the solution to everything. I like to make fun of Marche and give him a hard time, but in all honesty, he aight. Still my least favorite among the heroes of Final Fantasy Tactics though, and let's not forget, he has no unique abilities or stats. For third place, this goes to the main protagonist of FFTA2, Uso. He isn't that well liked by many people in the community, but in my opinion, he isn't a bad character or even person, especially if you consider his background. The game never really specifies how old he is, just that he is quite young. Probably 12 or 13 years old, like Marche, if I had to guess. Even though it isn't revealed until much later on into the game, both of his parents did pass away, and that is why he currently lives with his aunt. Supposedly, he also isn't a very good student compared to his other classmates, and that is why he gets detention before summer.
Vacation!
But again, he's just late from what the teacher is saying. And who knows, this guy could be lying for all we know. Mr. Blair is probably just falsely accusing Lusso, so I suggest he hire a good criminal defense lawyer.
Either pay me or go with a public defender.
Anyway, he gets sent to the library to help clean. No one is there. He opens up a magic book that teleports him to Ivalice. It sort of works like Stanley's. A huge bird dinosaur is ready to attack him, and he gets saved by this guy named Sid, who is actually a good person despite his past criminal background and his not so charming looks. Anyway, Lusso is a bit immature and can be brash at times towards both Sid and Adele, but he is still a good guy at heart who goes out of his way to help and look for them when they go missing. And he also aids the regular people of Ivalice with their problems. Even though he has no idea if he can return to his homeworld, he still remains confident, never gets depressed, and realizes that he should be a better nephew to his aunt if and when he gets back. To me, this is quite impressive for someone so young who lost both of his parents. He is also the kind of guy who is a true friend who would back you up and help you out with money. I only wish he had some nicer looking clothes and some unique abilities. For second place, or perhaps an honorable mention, it has to go to Delita. Unfortunately, his playable side story arc was scrapped early on in the development of Final Fantasy Tactics, so we never got to experience him as a true main character. Even though he was cunning and a conceited jerk at times to his lover and best friend, he was 100 times better as a person compared to the other potential rulers such as Goltana and Dice Darg. And we can't forget about his awesome sword abilities. No surprises for number 1, but the greatest main character in the Final Fantasy Tactics series is none other than Ramza Beolv, true hero of the War of the Lions. Everyone watching this knows his story. The youngest
Half-breed! He is a half-breed!
Son of Barbaneth Beolv, who abandoned his older brothers, realizing how power-hungry and unjust they were with the death and killing of their adopted lowborn sister, Tetra. After this event, he is pretty much homeless as he chooses to abandon his noble family and go on a journey of his own, where he ends up making wonderful and lifelong friends, as they uncover the truth and the real masterminds behind the War of the Lions, the Church of Globdos. While both the Northern and Southern Sky were powerful knightly orders, the Church had the real power, as many of the high-ranking Knights Templar, led by Ultima the High Seraph, were in fact demons with incredible strength, and this was further boosted by their Zodiac Stones. In the end, Ramza and his allies succeed in defeating these supernatural beings, thus saving Ivalice. What I like about Ramza is that he is a selfless and kind human being who values the lives of people, especially of his sister, friends, and even the citizens of Ivalice, as he helped save countless lives by not only defeating Ultima the High Seraph, but also when he broke the floodgates at Fort Besala, causing an indefinite stalemate between the two Knight Orders, preventing even more unnecessary casualties. Even though he'd rather not resort to violence, he excels in combat. Despite people labeling him as just a squire, in the actual lore and canon, he is one talented fighter who defeated prominent warriors like Gaf Gurion, Weegraf, Merrick, Lydell, and even bested the strongest demons and Ultima the High Seraph. We also have to take into consideration that even though Ramza is older than Marche and Lusso, he's still only a teenager. Lastly, I love that he has his own unique abilities. Now let's talk about some not so redeeming qualities of Ramza, which are minor, but I have to be fair for the sake of this video. At times throughout the game, Ramza was a little slow and naive, especially at the start of Chapter 1, in realizing the status quo between nobles and commoners. While I do believe he isn't wrong in his beliefs, it just wasn't part of Ivalician culture at the time. Even though he matures later on into the game, he can still be clueless at times, especially when he confronts Confessor Zalmor a second time believing he might be able to convince him that the church he works for is corrupt. And he also hands over the scriptures to Fulmarv and gets fooled yet again.
They played me like a damn fiddle!
I would not want Ramza to negotiate in a hostage situation at all. And let's not forget, I would not want him as a fashion designer, especially if he is going to rock that Chapter 4 look. All in all, Ramza is just a true hero, and he could easily be ranked above quite a few of the other mainline or more popular Final Fantasy characters, because of his personality and his fighting capabilities. That's it for this one. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you all next time.